Millennials and Gen Z need assets. If you don't have assets, you're in for a bumpy ride. Let's get into it. The amount of reckless spending done by Gen Z and millennials is getting out of control, spending $8 for a Big Mac sandwich, not including the fries, and buy now, pay later-ing Taco Bell. If your weekends consist of Ubering to a bar, spending $20 on a watered down drink, and tipping 25% as requested, and then Ubering home, you're part of the problem. You see, most of these things used to be affordable, but with the way things are going, they're not going to be affordable for very much longer, and we may very well be past the point of no return. Most people don't realize just how asinine all of this really is and fail to see the bigger picture. You see, ironically, there's more wealth in the world than ever before. However, more and more of that wealth goes to the top 1% of people, leaving the remaining 99% in the dust. While you're scrolling through Instagram, seeing an ad for McDonald's, and then going and getting a cold Big Mac, the people with money are instead buying McDonald's stock and Meta stock and profiting from your attention and misfortune. These companies want you to see a barrage of ads, and if they had their way, you'd be on their platform 24/7, doing whatever the advertisers tell you to do while they laugh all the way to the bank. Speaking of the bank, if you're keeping all of your money in there, that's not going to go well for you either. You're going to need assets and things that appreciate in value, at least at the rate of real inflation, and ideally higher. If your job offers a 401k with a match, take advantage of that. Of course, open up a Roth IRA on the side so you're not taxed when you take that money out in retirement. And who knows what tax rates will be in 30 years, so that's probably a safer bet. In addition to retirement accounts, it's also a good idea to open a taxable brokerage account for further exposure to the stock market and save up money for a down payment on a house to get exposure to real estate as well. For your down payment money, I recommend keeping that in a high yield savings account. Right now they're offering around 3.75% interest, which is free money. So take it. You're going to need an emergency fund, ideally with 3 to 6 months of living expenses and perhaps more if you can swing it. If you have your retirement accounts set up, a 401k and a Roth IRA, you have your taxable brokerage account you're contributing to as well, you have an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of living expenses, and you're saving up for a down payment for a house, then you're pretty set, with the exception of maybe some assets outside of the traditional system that people can't create more of, such as gold, silver, and Bitcoin. The reason we're in this whole economic situation is because money is created at will and printed out of thin air, backed by nothing, and we see consumer price inflation in goods and services we purchase every day, but we see real inflation in asset prices. So these are stocks, houses, commodities, and really everything you can conceivably buy. But the assets usually go up faster than consumer prices, which is why rich people continue to get richer over time, and why houses are unaffordable for you. The people in charge don't want you to know this. They just want you to think that everything's fine, and no matter what, you just should go to work, and that it's either Trump's fault or Biden's fault or crooked Hillary's fault or Iran's fault or Russia's fault or the tariffs' fault, when really most of the blame can just be put on the Federal Reserve creating new money out of thin air and giving it to their friends, and they're stealing your future from you and you're being robbed. The United States dollar is the strongest currency in the world right now, but it is still a fiat currency, which means it's a currency by decree, which means we just have to use it because they say so, and this is backed by the full faith and credit of the United States government. But the credibility of the United States government is dropping fast and quickly in real time, as we now are over $37 trillion in debt, and we're adding over $2 trillion every year, which doesn't seem very sustainable, if you ask me. The government is telling people who contribute to Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid that they will receive these benefits when they retire and are old enough to receive them. But the thing is that you will not receive a sizable compensation for any of this. Even if the number isn't zero, it's going to be effectively worthless because the government doesn't have the money, they're lying to you, and when you go to get it, you won't be able to. Same with the money in your bank account. While you see a number and think it's yours, the bank has taken that money and invested it, and there is a reserve requirement of 0% which means the banks don't have to keep a single percentage of the money that you give them, so that money is not actually there. And if you go and try to get that, that's not going to be there either. The whole system is a big web of lies and a Ponzi scheme. And because this money is printed into existence, asset prices will go up forever, consumer prices will go up forever, and the owners of assets will benefit just as those with nothing will see their quality of life just decline more and more over time. If you were to ask people, say 20 or 30 years ago, they would probably tell you that their hard work would lead to upward mobility in the world and that it would be worth it and they could climb to the next step on the social ladder. Things are much more bleak now, and if you ask Millennials and Gen Z, they will probably feel pretty hopeless about this, because they should. But you can take advantage of the situation by accumulating assets. Start with the tax advantage accounts like the 401k and the Roth IRA to minimize your tax burden. Also, invest in a taxable brokerage account so you can access some money and have some income before retirement. Have some money out of the system as well in something like gold, silver, and Bitcoin, because those are going to go up forever as well. And while you can have some savings in dollars in a bank, just know that the value of the dollar will go down forever. It has lost over 99% of its value since 1913, and will drop another 99%, and then another 99%, and then another 99%, until it's pretty much worthless and you'll need a wheelbarrow full of money to buy a sandwich. And just remember, inflation is a good thing for people with assets, which is mostly the 1%. So when they see things get more expensive, they benefit because they own these companies, they own the properties, and seeing a higher price benefits them while you lose. I say all of this because I see a lot of my peers living life normally, completely, seemingly unaware of all of this. They probably feel it, but don't really know what's going on, and they think it's normal, but it's absolutely not normal. And every fiat currency eventually collapses, and things don't have to stay the same forever, and historically, they never do. So take the initiative to prepare yourself now, because no one is coming to save you. But that's all I have. If you guys like the content, consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. I'll see you in the next one.